Hi, and welcome to the Road to Semifinals episode number 4. If you missed my last episode, it was all about the research process that I went through, and it has a lot of really helpful tips that you'll want to take a look at. So if you missed that one, I would advise going back and watching that right now. Now for this episode, I want to update you on some of the progress I've made. In the last couple of weeks, I've been able to select 2 different topics. I was able to write an outline for one of the topics, and I wrote the entire first draft, as well as practiced it a little bit and made some edits. So I'm happy to update you on all of these things, and I want to just show you the process that I'm going through as I write these speeches, because it's going to help you when you write your own speeches, and it's going to give you some ideas for how you can do a better job of pushing through writer's block and writing a better, more creative speech from the beginning and integrating catchphrases and stories into your speeches. These are all aspects that I've had to deal with just recently. So without further ado, let's jump into the 2 topics that I've chosen. The first topic is being yourself, being unique. Basically, my message is don't change yourself and don't try to hide parts of yourself to attract people, because you'll attract the wrong type of people. You'll attract people who don't care about you for who you really are, but for the facade that you put up. So this speech is a pretty generic topic, cliche even, but a lot of Toastmasters speeches at the top level are that way. It's not about whether the message is completely unique and completely new. It's actually really about the content and how you present that message. Are you able to present it in a compelling way that is really inspirational for people? And you basically need to check all the boxes for a good Toastmaster speech. The second speech topic is being adventurous. It's about getting out there and doing something new. It doesn't necessarily mean going outside or traveling, which a lot of people see as adventure. Sometimes adventure is just trying something with your son or daughter that isn't really your interest. It's a way of connecting with them, and I want to just get that across, as well as get across the idea that if you don't like traveling, or if you kind of stay in your shell, it might be something that's worth experiencing for you. So again, another cliche kind of topic, but I'm not worried about that aspect. I just want to make sure that I execute well on the message that I have. That first topic of being unique is the first speech that I've chosen to work on. So I've written the outline and the first draft and even practiced it in the car a little bit, as well as making some edits based on the problems that I can see in it. So that first speech I'm going to show you just in a second and walk you through the process of how I got to it. And I'll make some broader conclusions about how you can make a speech while avoiding writer's block, which is a very serious obstacle that you need to get through as a speechwriter. Okay, let's jump right in. Alright, so here we have the rather messy document where I decided what topics I was going to choose. Let me just explain kind of my process here. I was not thinking, okay, I want to talk about this topic, how do I make it work? I was actually working backwards. I was taking stories that I have from my life, as well as potential catchphrases for a speech, and I was playing around with them, saying, okay, what could I make of this story? What could I say is the moral of this story? And so I actually worked backwards on my topic selection, and that really helped me personally. So a lot of you might have something that you're really passionate about and you really, really want to talk about. And that's fair. But oftentimes you won't have a personal story to back it up. And as we learned from episode number 3, you need a personal story to win in Toastmasters. Absolutely not optional. So I worked backwards. Now this mess is where I just brainstormed. I wasn't trying to organize it in any way. It was just a brainstorm. I had here some stories that I remembered that might be worth talking about in a speech, and then I wrote in bold here some ideas of what kind of moral to the story I could use based on that story. And that helped me decide, okay, what stories do I have and what speeches could I give based on those stories. I also went through some of the ideas that I liked and started writing part of the speech. I wrote my outline for my speech here. This is actually the outline that I'll get to in a second. I wrote down possible catchphrases for both of the story ideas that I really liked. I wrote ideas for jokes and how I could tell the intro to the story. I mean, this entire thing is the second speech. It's half written here. I mean, this is probably not what I'm going to use, but it helped me to figure out if there is potential in the story. Last thing I'll end here with is that I wrote this outline for the speech, and it's really simple. As you can see, there's nothing really particularly impressive about it. It doesn't have much detail. All it tells me is this is where I start the speech, this is where I go, these are the points I make, this is how I end, these are the stories I use, maybe catchphrases. That's all. It doesn't need to be the wording of the speech, it's just the direction of the speech. Later, you can add on the actual meat onto the bones. I'll jump over to the actual script that I wrote for the speech. This is the first draft. I'm going to edit it a lot from here, but basically I just wrote it from beginning to end. I have a lot of brackets with what to do at that point of the speech. Actually, this should be a bracket instead of parentheses, but whatever. So in brackets, I put body language things, and then I just put all the words here. Later on, I'll make a version of the script without the body language cues, but this helps me to just remember from week to week what ideas I had already come up with. And I'll have to edit those body language segments later as I learn better ways to say the same line. But that's just a starting point. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on this. In a future episode, I'll be talking through the actual speech and delivering it to you. I'll talk about my practice process and my editing process, but this was just a peek into the speech writing process and how I do it. Alright, thank you for joining me on this episode. Watch out for the next episode coming up soon, and make sure to subscribe to my email list at potentspeaking.com, and that way you can follow along with the updates. Alright, see you later.